Hello, hello. It is Thursday. We are just going to do a morning stream. Hey, Kevin. How goes it? So let's write this out. Wow. All right. The plan for today is to finish up any remaining game design questions for challenge mode in Skeleseller, which will be a roguelike adaptation of the main gameplay design or intended to increase replayability. Okay, let's put that over there. And then as long as I'm here, let's, no, I'll do that later. I'll write this afternoon stuff. Morning. Okay, gonna go through the questions and analyze everything. I came up with some perk ideas. I'll write that down in here. General ideas. Battle buffs, maybe. More damage mitigation, lifesteal, damage boosting your heal, etc. I think those will unlock some cool synergies without having to be skills. Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder if there are a lot of these sorts of perks clogging the system, that steering them in some way would probably be good. Like, I wonder if we should allow opening a second perk dialogue or something. I guess I'll write this down as questions. Should we have buckets of perks? If there are 90 battle perks, maybe having to choose battle perk is what should be exposed to the player. And then you should get a choice of, say, 3 of them. All right. What are more perks that we can come up with that don't rely on having a specific building? Campbell Soup, thanks for the resub. Happy 2/3 of a year. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday so far. We need a lot of them in this category so that there are interesting choices. Look through my list of original ideas. Oh, let's go do that really fast. Twitch took my phone an eternity to load the video. How's it going? It's going well. I was asking you how you're doing too. I hope everything's going well for you. I've been thinking about sort of the path forward with all of this stuff, and it's still kind of the same. We need to finish the treasure system, then code the challenge mode, and then play test all of this while polishing and finishing up the content. And yeah, I'm gonna try to work as much as possible. Open stream to ads and got offended I wasn't subscribed. Yeah, they really don't want you using your Prime sub as soon as possible, which is why there's no way to like auto resubscribe. You can't do it a day early even. So yeah. Although I wonder if, anyway, yeah. Okay, let's see. So what are more perks I can come up with that don't rely on you having a specific building? Look through my list of ideas. Let's go look through the list of ideas, because I had a bunch here. Customers leave tips in the form of money bags you have to pick up. These could be something that make the game a little bit more manually focused. I don't think I want to do that. Also, this is the kind of thing where I think we should just say, like, I've rejected these ideas at this point. Yeah. In fact, maybe I should delete them instead of putting them in a rejected ideas section. We'll put them in the rejected ideas section for now. But yeah, I've looked over this a bunch of times and I haven't done anything about it. So, I mean, I might as well get rid of it. Rationale, well, if I don't write a specific rationale, it's just because I've looked at these ideas multiple times and have decided that they won't fit for some reason. That probably isn't worth going into. Doing well, hectic week. Also like a good 35 seconds behind, so just know I'm not trying to ignore you. How close to APR are you? Okay, let's see. Allow customizing adventure names. This is still a fine idea. It just wouldn't help for this. Should probably be some mega game-breaking stuff at the end. Harvest all crops. Cast all enchanter spells at once. Yeah, we could think about these mega spells. Let me add this down here. General ideas. Any mega upgrades we had thought of, which were sell every item in the shop all at once, harvest all crops, cast all enchanter spells at once, make an item worth 10x its original cost. What else do we have here? Move customers and workers at hyper speed. And yeah, some battle. Nah, I don't need to write that down. Hoping today. Nice. Hasn't even been a month. PvP, endgame or new game plus. End of the game should probably have some way of continuing to play, perhaps giving the player some difficult challenges and allowing for more growth. Yeah, so we already have done this. This was planned in January, I guess. Hey, Roots, hey, Leftist. Grand morning. So, Leftist is the only person possibly in the stream who you would never know if this is just Leftist or if he started using AI. Because both are equally plausible. Your workers can fish, have them cast a line out to the pond. I think it'd be cool to have a building that just spits out one random item every so often. I kind of like that idea. Like, maybe this didn't make sense in the original game, but maybe it makes sense now. Like the item producer, or like new buildings, I guess we can say. There could be a machine that spits out items every so often, which is mostly a reward rather than a perk dump. I wrote perk dump. Can have a perks board for interactions between systems. Farmer can affect fishing or casting spells. You can say the perks will only show up here when you've unlocked all other systems, so check back often. Yeah, those cross-system things. I have one of these written down. Yeah, cross-system perks. Or like farming a crop. What would this even be? Farming can affect fishing. What would they even do? Every, I don't know, farming 25 crops puts a fish in the pond, etc. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna delete this now. Let's just do AIs ask when they get stuck. Fit my personality pretty well. It makes getting anything done impossible. So you're just paying to interact with yourself? Like $20 to talk to Leftist? Sounds like a good idea. Sounds like a productive use of time. Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, it's kind of cool seeing this stuff in action, because I kind of mentioned this before, but there are a few things that you could argue. Does AI do well? What's going to happen? But there are things AI does well now, and it's be conversational and help you come up with ideas, and a whole bunch of other things too. But like these, I think people generally agree that, like, yeah, it kind of sounds like a human. Yeah, sure, sometimes it's got a certain tone to it, but then again, so do some humans. And coming up with ideas, it's like it doesn't need to do too much other than be conversational, probably. So there are a lot of other things on that list. But even if it never got better, I think there'd still be value in something like this existing, and then eventually having it run on consumer hardware. It's like a game, right? It just needs to provide entertainment. I get the AI will probably be much bigger than that, and it already is doing a lot more. All right, satisfying customer desires could fuel a town karma system, higher karma, endless dungeon where enemies don't heal. We could unlock something like this in the game. Maybe there's always a place you can go to do an endless battle, and it gets harder and harder, and you need to micromanage it. Wonders if he has a tone. I mean, when I say tone, I mean a stylistic way of writing text as opposed to like an angry tone or a happy tone or something like that. Although AI has kind of the overly chirpy, enthusiastic tone a lot of times too. This could be something for challenge mode. Maybe the endless dungeon is always unlocked, and you need to check every so often whether you can win a battle there. That'll probably never happen. People have been telling me on dates recently. If anyone in real life says you have a tone, that's something you gotta fix. Maybe we have a chef vendor. You only have one item slot, and it's they fill rather than you filling. It could be a valuable item. Yeah, this is the chef vendor. This could be the chef vendor. They make a cake every so often that customers can buy. Could allow for leveling up battle locations. Could have manually used ability. When customers can knock items out of shop onto the ground. I still love this idea. I think this is hilarious. Some set speed. When you click it, you get money. There's like a loot goblin thing as an event. I think I have events written down. I need to find it. Occasional events. From a while ago. Cool. Take care, Kevin. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you have a good day, that things get less hectic sometime in the next like 2 months. Put a treasury. It can be a chest in the map with a gold pile. Pile grows as you earn money. When the money cap increases, treasury levels up. Means when you beat a boss, you're able to upgrade it. Yeah. Boss trophies. So these are things I'd still love to have at some point. But I'm looking for ideas that'll help challenge mode. Have you considered adding support for purchasing extra portals? Add wood and stone to the game. Maybe customers need houses. Trees can spawn apples. Clicking them gives you 1 gold. I don't know. Crafting system. Track the same item on the enchanter file. Yeah, I don't think this stuff is going to be what we need. I'm going to keep looking through this. Hopefully there's something. Because I need to harvest whatever ideas I can find, basically. And I wrote all these down already. It'd be cool if you could level up adventurers via items. Maybe experience orbs drop and they're brought to the guild. Wow. This idea is pretty much what turned into the guild supplies thing. We need to figure out what money is purchasing the game. And then they purchase the treasure chest. Wow, look at that. Okay, well, let's delete it now. Skeletoni is still one of the funniest things. Whether we want different layouts. I think we kind of already did this now. I'm going to delete that. Workers become tired. It's just that customers can barter. Got an idea through feedback. What do you got? A randomized set of abilities. Probably break synergies. Ability to speed up battles. Simulated battle playing out below this. NPCs having names. Mods that are trade-off. This was battle mod specifically. Item rarities. Differentiate adventurers in the overworld. Any places on personality. Okay, so we didn't do that stuff. Adventurers drop entire treasure chests when they get through the portal. The skeletons have to take time opening them. That was kind of done. They have a chef, shop, or stand that sells baked goods. Don't require winning battles. There's a way to get a customer to spend the last of their money. Challenge runs. These are like achievement sorts of things. We already talked about this extensively. A few people wanted a leaderboard. Item displays themselves have some kind of benefit. This could be done. We could have like a fancy looking item display that makes your items worth more. I kind of like it. I'm going to write it down. Yeah, where is shops? I don't have a shops one. Hey, Tim, how's it going? Welcome in, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I gave you a shout out yesterday because I forgot to do it on Monday, I think. So hopefully, hopefully that resulted in something, because I've seen raids and shout outs lately. They've just changed over the years. But welcome in, Joss. I hope your stream was good, Tim. Get Timbo hyped. It resulted in a raid here. Oh, okay. Well, that wasn't why I did it, truly. I just wanted to show some appreciation in a more sort of tangible, stream-friendly way. But yeah, I think on Monday we were doing pretty much what we're doing today, which is designing challenge mode. Since Monday, though, there's been a lot of progress on this, and the game itself hasn't changed at all. But challenge mode now has a lot of direction. And the last thing that I'm thinking of that we need, so let me kind of sum up what we're doing here. Oh, by the way, Tim, if you ever want to share links in here, feel free to. If you want, wish lists on your game, or for just people to join a Discord or something. You're doing the same since Monday too. Idea generation and market research. Yeah. So we've had Skeleseller going for a while now. You send adventurers into battle. You sell their items that they find. And this is great. This works. The game looks like it's promising right up until you complete the main mode. And then we wanted some way for you to replay it. And that's where challenge mode comes in. So challenge mode is a way for you to have a much more condensed version of the game that you will have some random choices presented to you. You get to pick at any given point what makes the most sense for what build you're doing, and then build up your town that way. So we're right now trying to figure out what are all of the different perks you might be able to get, because if you don't have a large enough pool, in fact, that's maybe one of the questions we should ask. If you don't have a large enough pool, it might not be interesting. How many cards / relics does Slay the Spire have? Like, what's a good pool size? Or Risk of Rain? What's a good pool size for this stuff? What's exciting and fun? Yeah, we're doing the same. Yeah, I read that. Hey, Flair. Might be leaning toward a tower defense racing game. Much more planning, brainstorming, and thought needed. Tower defense. It could be kind of interesting. Sorry, don't feel any necessity to respond to this. But what if you were a race car on a tower defense course and you needed to like dodge the towers shooting at you and like make it around a lap, and different paths would open up? And actually it could be a 2-player game, although that's on a 100-day thing, where one person's putting down towers to try to stop the race car driver. Well, it could just be an AI doing it. Has 100+ relics and I think 80-ish cards per character. Okay, Slay is like 100+ relics, 80 cards per character. And I know they're the colorless cards, but a lot of times those aren't like super accessible. You can maybe start with one in your deck. There's going to be no synergy at that time. You could buy some from the shop. You can get some as rewards. So yeah, there are quite a lot of choices, and I think that's necessary. Has like 15 artifacts. Artifacts aren't exactly what I'm talking about. Those are the ones that modify your run in totally different ways, like 4 enemies spawn instead of 1 or something. I think I'm thinking of in Risk of Rain 2, there are, I guess, just items, right? Is that it? What else do you get to modify your character? Yeah, it's just items. So I wonder how many items are in Risk of Rain 2. Risk of Rain 2, number of items in base game. I want to know the base game specifically. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, and equipment. Yeah, I forgot about equipment. Those are kind of items. So it's like 200. Yeah. Roar 2 has like 200 items. Some are equipment. Not far off the idea there. Have to go grab food. All right, take care, Tim. Thanks again for the raid. And best of luck on your planning stuff too. If you didn't stream at an obscene time for me, I'd be able to drop in and chime in and throw your stream completely off. Base game is probably closer to 160. And I bet number of equipment there might have been like 20 or something. So yeah, I think having enough perks is what's interesting here. There needs to be a lot of space to explore. And we don't need to launch with 150 of these, but I think launching with like at least 50 or at least 100 is probably a good idea. I don't even know how hard it's going to be to get to that point. So yeah, specific item displays having a benefit. Let me write that down. Specific ideas. We don't have a shop thing, I guess. Shops. Specific item displays could be upgraded. Maybe to magical or diamond, and make the items on them worth more. There's a micromanagement perspective to this. If your workers are unaware of the distinction. And that might not be a fun way of doing it. What else do we have here? Some goods that are more desired based on events, larger one-shot battles, and the idea of making things more. We already kind of did that. Have an auto-equipper select. You can turn on new house blueprints. Who runs sales. It's kind of interesting. Thought about letting the battle windows be movable. We did this now. Yeah. When entering an instance, maybe you can apply a difficulty or rewards multiplier. Yeah, we talked about that stuff before. What about this? Add mining to the game. Turn money into wisdom sludge. Hire a rancher and raise pets. What if you cooked the pets? We did talk about this. Farm ideas, make it bigger. A perk that allows multiple fruits to grow at the same time on one crop. I'm probably not going to do that. Small effects, tiny random chance, or a spell side effect. A random crop is fully grown. Crop that isn't a pumpkin is converted into a pumpkin. Yeah, things like this are like the cross system ones. Casting a spell has a chance to convert a crop into a pumpkin. It's automatically harvested. Food could spoil. Offer customizing duration of all spells at once. Have a perk that upgrades a location on a battle map. We talked about this so much. Seems to be wisdom sludge. Get more gold when manually feeding the garbage slime. +2 per item. We could just increase the amount that the garbage slime gives you. Where's that? Specific ideas. We got nothing. All right, garbage slime. The slime offers more money for items. We could further differentiate this by whether you feed the slime or a worker does, but I don't think that's necessary. Yeah, when we get to this, I think this is what we got to figure out. Like, do the perks seem to allow for some creativity? Is the decision at any point just obvious? Man, this is going to be difficult. We did that. We don't care about that. Haze, blink, etc. I don't care about this either. Town perk to add a button to the tavern, then pull all quest items from the warehouse if you have them. I don't think that's needed. Address items disappearing. Workers only need to get to the drop zone. That's kind of interesting. Like workers only need to get close to a building. It's like increasing their speed. I could write it down. You can make it so that workers only need to get, I don't like this actually. Yeah. Customers sometimes pay a lot of money. Critical sales. We could write that down. Customers tip occasionally, even when they don't desire an item. X% chance after selling an item that it just gets put there anyway. I kind of like that. Higher sell value for specific items. Every time an item sells, heal some amount of HP. Buffs to this, drop rate, item value, chance it gets duplicated. All right, lower the cooldown, costs, regeneration time. These aren't even things you have. Chance to earn wisdom sludge from battle. I kind of like that. Did I write this down somewhere? Experience points. Gain sludge just by battling. Yeah. Alternatively, we could just grant the sludge to your overall currency counter from the battle. Allow for auto battling when the party just keeps entering the same instance until you tell them to stop. What? What? How is this different from auto battling? I don't know what this was, but I'm deleting it now. Add teleport portals. The building that produces items for you every so often. Show up money per second. Overflow chest. Okay. Customers hold them above their heads. Special titles. Speech bubbles. Wonderful whale. I think. Yeah, that's already done. I think this is all stuff that doesn't fit or doesn't help at this point. Again, what I'm looking for here is just ideas for these random perks that can drop. And I haven't spent a lot of time trying to come up with them myself yet because we had all these ideas from before that I wanted to look at first so that I could cover any ground that's not covered here later. So regenerate more, get a heal at that. Yeah, something like that could be kind of interesting. Like heal a random adventurer, kind of act like you have a cleric there. Battle buffs could heal a random adventurer in battle as though there's a cleric in the battle. Because the one thing you should sneeze at is also pretty important. But you're sneezing because of, you're not sneezing at. Chance to poison enemies, chance for more loot. Power, haste, chance to crit, all this stuff. Maybe a chance to use another active ability. Chance to use an active ability again. Almost like mental swiftness. Grant a buff. Class ideas. I don't think I need to look at those. Joke ideas. Don't need to look at those. Abilities. All right. Well, something you should sneeze at, and it goes against the idiom. Sneeze into your arm. I always wonder what the source of this is, like the etymology of a word or the origin of a phrase. Nothing to sneeze at origin. Let's find out. Something significant or important enough to be noticed. Origin is somewhat unclear, believed to have roots in 17th century when sneezing was considered a symbol of status. What? Really? Oh, maybe because you could afford pepper or something. I don't know. I'm making things up because I'm not reading the rest of that. All right, so back to the original question. More perks that we can come up with here. I think we're going to need a ton of perks, and we just don't have that many right now. And more importantly, they probably need to drastically change how you play. Yeah. So one way we could maybe look at this is we could consider like what are the high level options for playing the game. And it could be like item sales, battling, maybe leveling up. That's kind of it, right? We could say lots of cheap items, a few expensive items. Snuff, okay. I see. That's kind of it. Yeah, I don't. Maybe this is a bad way of looking at things because if you look at like Risk of Rain 2, if we said what are the high level options for playing, it's do a bunch of damage. It's just, it's like the variety is in how you do damage. So you might say something like a bunch of single target damage, AoE, enemies at full life, bosses, etc. So maybe that's not the interesting angle to look at here. And it's like, how do we differentiate these sorts of things? So battling, you could have like get a bunch of adventurers, many low-level adventurers, a few high-level adventurers. But these are the same things just kind of listed out. I guess that's how these things work though, right? It's like a single target or lots of targets, regular enemies or bosses. Yeah. Maybe you're powering up the locations themselves. And there is some kind of risk reward thing there. Maybe like harder battles but better loot. This could affect a single location. We need to make sure it doesn't get too difficult though. Mage can cast the big spell. Did you ever play Final Fantasy 11, Leftist? Some of those spells had like a super long cast time. Black Mage spells. I don't know if they still do, so if whatever I'm going to look up is much more tame now than what it used to be. Okay, so if we just look at something like this, is this 6 the cast time? I should have scrolled to the top. Yeah, cast time. So if we just sort by cast time here, why is the cast time 75 for this? 45? Yeah, these are probably like you're intended to speed this up somehow. But yeah, the cast times on some of these spells were nuts. You'd be standing there for like 14 seconds casting something. Talking about big spell. I guess the point is that there can be a singular goal and there just need to be many ways. Hey, Broken Crown. And we need many ways of accomplishing it. The dimensions along which these many ways manifest can be simple. In Roar 2, it was do damage to one thing versus many. Roar 2 items. Let's look up some items and just see kind of if we were designing this game, what we might come up with. All right, so we look at something like this. Increase max health by 25. In the game, this is sometimes exciting to get because maybe you're going for a build that benefits from that. But otherwise, as just a thing in any game, this is not very exciting. It doesn't have to be. And something like this, I think, is a cool idea of a thing that they added that it fits the game. This bundle of fireworks was like every time you open up an item or a chest or something, it would just shoot out fireworks that would go home in on enemies. I think that was pretty cool. But yeah, a lot of these are like, how do we modify your stats? Just do more damage, get more health regeneration, get more health regeneration outside of battle. It was like many different small things. So I guess all of these should be small and understandable. All of the Roar 2 items are small and understandable, but still allow for fun combinations. The important thing for Roar 2, though, is that all items stack in some way. Thus, if there are 150 items, the game can always choose any of them whenever a drop is needed. In Skeleseller, these perks may get consumed, and then we can't offer them again. I guess it was the same with Slay, with cards, but relics could only be given once per run. Couldn't get duplicate relics. I started playing Spell Brigade. Had some nice difficulty scaling. Spell Brigade. I'm not sure if I looked this game up. Whoops, that could have been bad. Oh wait, I might have even played this. I did play this. This is that Survivors-like game. Yeah, I played this when it was in demo. No, wait. Yeah, I played the demo. And I felt like the demo was good enough for me to decide I don't want to buy this game. It was fun enough. I was playing with a friend and we got paired with some random third person sometimes, I think. And that third person wouldn't always be good. Even skeletons love T-bones. I do have that written down still. That's in the joke ideas. Rib eye. And it was you who suggested it. I did work in Bone George in a game. And this is done too. All right, so it's just a matter of coming up with as many things as we can do. So let's, I guess, look at the game. Because as far as stats go, just straight up stats, we have a lot of them that can be modified. We have the parameters of like how fast do you move, how many items can a shop stock, how much do they sell for, how fast do customers move, what do they buy. Forgot I already used that joke. I remember I remember it being on that list because I do want to work that in if I can, but it's not obviously top priority or anything. Let's just thank you for the resub. Happy 31 months. All right, let's start some battles. So we have a lot of interesting things that we could control here. And we're already controlling some of them. This is part of what makes me wonder, what if we just made this mode now with the perks we have in mind? Maybe that's, I don't know, 50 perks in total. And then we analyze whether, like, what we could add at that point to keep it interesting. So the risk here is the mode may not be fun. And maybe we could have guessed that while it was still on paper. But the risk of coming up with all the perks ahead of time is they're not as obvious. It's hard to just come up with perks without seeing this mode play out to know what's missing. But on the other hand, I don't think I want to start working on this feature if I don't have a 90% feeling that it's going to be good. Like, will it be hard to come up with perks? I guess if it's hard now, it's going to be hard later, right? All of these, or almost all of these, are like battle-based things. Some of them have to do with dropping loot. But I guess in general, it's like come up with any variable in the game and find an interesting way of modifying it. So as an example, there are elite monsters in the game. Being able to kill them when they're at low health automatically, that's a skill we have in the game already. But now you can make this work for anything. So it could be like enemies spawn in battle with only 50% health. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, we could have things that modify. Honestly, this is probably a good idea. We should probably just keep looking at other games for inspiration, even if they're not in the same genre. Just because something's going to spark that idea and get your brain thinking along. Here's what other roguelike games have done. Like we could look at Binding of Isaac, for example. Totally different game. And just see what items made sense for that. So in this case, one of these was we could modify battles. Enemy modifiers. Enemies start with 10% less life or X% less life. Enemies dealing less damage is, I think, not as interesting. Yeah, maybe this is what allows you to go to later areas sooner than you would have been able. I like that idea, the amount of progression that you have here. There could be a perk that just says like unlock the next location. Some of those are just like directly converting into money. I'm not sure they're that interesting. All right, anyway, yeah, let's look through these and let's just see. Is there anything like that we're missing here? Deal extra damage to bosses. We could use this concept in the game, but bosses in Risk of Rain 2, in a given run, you probably kill like 8 of them. So this helps at least 8 times. in Skeleseller, I don't know how many bosses are going to be in a challenge run or how many you expect to fight. There might be 8, but you might only have to fight 2 of them, let's say. So can you repeat them? Do they like respawn? Maybe there could be a perk that says spawn bosses on the map. Bosses would have to give you much better loot. I could just write boss specific stuff and we can figure it out later. You do more damage to bosses. Bosses appear more frequently. Alternatively, spawn 3 bosses on the map. All right, what do we have? Add another charge of a secondary skill. To get something like this in the game, so a lot of this is going to be battle stuff, right? To get something like this, we would have to say like a character has more haste, because we don't really have this concept. Maybe a chance on casting a skill to cast it again. That could be super overpowered. Can have an item that gives all classes an ability. It's usually only available to one class. Something like lifesteal ability. Yeah, I have that written down. Like granting lifesteal, damage boost when you've been healed, when you're healed. More damage mitigation, haste, crit. And I think we probably should do this. I like this idea of powering up a character, but then I think the issue with any of these things is going to be people will want to know exactly how an adventurer is doing. And that might be harder. Like we can lump all of these into this UI. We could have like a challenge mode buffs section here, and you hover over this and it tells you like plus 45% haste, whatever else. But you wouldn't necessarily know that that adventurer is doing well. Is it an acronym? Yes, it is business optimization of new expansions. It's fantastic, by the way. So the whole idea here, or I guess it was business optimization via new expansions. But anyway, the concept was you ran Skeletown, it worked. Then you get to challenge mode, and it's like let's go start up new towns and figure out whether these businesses are going to work as well. So yeah, your bone level is going to be how difficult it's gotten. I love it. I love it too. I think it's great. Yeah, so I think the battle mods thing is going to have to be fleshed out quite a lot more. And maybe we'll even need a section specifically for them. We may need a section in the UI just for this, so that you can build up your adventurers even more. It would also form another means of power progression. Yeah. Yeah. Because there are a lot of ideas we could do with that. Or just even increasing the life or power of an adventurer. Could just increase stats plus 50 fortitude on a character. It would probably be more interesting for you to get the bonus and then pick which adventurer to apply it to. But then, yeah, I'll need to ask that as a question, I guess. For battle perks, how do you choose which adventurer to apply them to? Are you choosing battle perk for rogue first and then plus health versus lifesteal versus something else? If battle perks are a big deal, do we need to open more locations at a time to you? Maybe each location is always one level higher. For a total of like 20 levels. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, I like that idea. I like the idea of advancing as soon as you can. Yeah, okay, that's super cool. Yeah. I think battle perks do need to be a big deal. Anyway, so are you choosing battle perk for rogue and then this stuff? are you choosing plus health, and then you get to assign it to an adventurer. All right, so what else do we have here? Increase your attack speed. Activating an interactable launches 8 fireworks. So this idea in Skeleseller, what would that be like? Maybe like every time you win a battle, something happens? But it had to be something more than just... It could be like every time you sell an item, it does 1 damage to everyone who you're in battle against. That's kind of interesting. I like that idea. Every time you sell an item, deal 1 damage to all enemies that you're fighting in battle. Alternatively, if that's too strong, it could be deal X damage to a single enemy. How'd you set up closed captions? I use Whisper for that. I think I don't have a command for that actually. But it was part of this thing that I did, which is called Vocal Streamer. So if I say engage privacy mode right now, it will change scenes in OBS. And that's because it's reading the captions file that's being generated and then just checking for certain key phrases. And I think I wrote how I did this here, but apparently I didn't. Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice. There must be something here. Oh, I guess there's requirements.txt. It's just requests. Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. I didn't write... Oh, local vocal. That's what it is. Yeah. OBS plugin for local speech recognition and captioning. Okay, I'll link that in. Yeah, how's it going, Mysterious? Did you enjoy the CAPTCHA competition? Yeah, I hope it helps. Let's see. So where did I leave off with that? Oh yeah, this. I like this idea. I think it's pretty good. So fun. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I from what Kit said, it sounded like there were 90 participants. That's actually a lot lower than I thought it would be. I should have participated. Things have been so nuts with Skeleseller that I'm trying not to deviate from this at all. But yeah, I think it would have been fun to come up with an idea. Also, I just assumed there'd be like 400 people participating and that I just get kind of lost in the crowd with that. But I didn't have any great ideas. Yeah. Yeah, the person who made the Skeleseller like one is Kevin, who's working on Skeleseller. Yeah, Kitboga did a CAPTCHA contest. It was to make fake CAPTCHAs that could... I think the cause was like potentially be used in his gauntlet or just on stream when there's a scammer and he puts it on a website and says, oh, we need to solve a CAPTCHA. And it turns out it's really just a joke. And yeah. Is that plugin what's enabling the closed captioning button in the Twitch player? It should be, yeah, because my stream contains captioning information, which then lights it up on Twitch. If I'm not mistaken, that's how that works. All right, so we're still just looking through this. So I came up with an idea for this. All we need is, this is just serving as inspiration. We're not even making a similar game. So yeah, this is regeneration, but by standing still. The concept of standing still doesn't really exist, but it could be something like a customer that doesn't buy an item for a certain amount of time will just spend money anyway. What if you got like pickpockets who would just go take money from customers? That could be kind of interesting. Similar to this idea, you could hire pickpockets, or maybe your rogue does this while in town, where their only job is to steal money from customers. I don't like the theming of this. Skeleseller is very lighthearted, and while there's battling and you're killing enemies and stuff, you're not, stealing from people who are funding your town. So I'm not super happy with that, but this would be a way of generating money without needing items. Wasn't there a bandit idea? It was the opposite direction. So it was that bandits would spawn in your town and steal from you. But this is you're hiring bandits to steal from your customers. It's like, imagine you're running a business and someone comes in and buys something and then you're like, and I will also take your wallet from you. Hey, Direct, are you looking for the tenants? I think I have a tenants command. That's not capitalism. as after standing still for some amount of time. Does this spark any other ideas? I don't think so. I don't think we really have this concept exactly. Yeah. Base health regeneration goes up. This could just be health regeneration while in combat and not even an occasional heal. I kind of like that. This is maybe better framed as gain X life regen per second in battle. I think that's cool. I think like thorns in battle. X damage dealt to enemies when attacked. Okay, what's this? Killing enemy increase your damage by 3.5 up to 10 for 7 seconds. Dealing damage refreshes the timer. Yeah, this doesn't really make sense in here. Deal damage to full health enemies. This also doesn't probably make sense. Unless it's for your whole party. There could be whole party buffs. Although at that point, it's better to just frame this as every enemy has less life. So in Risk of Rain 2, that's not how this operated because it's a multiplayer game. So if you said every enemy has less life, then it affects all of the players. Whereas this only affects one player. And it's essentially saying that the enemies all have less life. But only if there was just one player. Increased damage, taking damage below this breaks the item. I don't think I want to do something like that. Spawns orbs of energy, giving movement speed. I think we just have plus movement speed. Now, granted, again, being a manually controlled game, Risk of Rain 2 had many ways of increasing your movement speed. There was this, which is like spawn orbs on the ground that you then had to pick up. There's this, which just increases your sprint speed. There's this, which increases your movement speed. There's this, which increases your movement speed. There's the circular thing. This thing? No. Not that thing. That's just based on when you're sprinting. Anyway, there were like maybe 2 or 3 other items like that. But being a manually played game, it makes sense that you'd want a lot of those sorts of things. I don't think in Skeleseller we need to do that. I think it's just, yeah, move faster. That's all you care about. Watching your VODs, want to learn about the process of your journal? Yeah, so there are 2 things you might be looking into there. One is tenets, which, yeah, every week I look over these things and just make sure I'm sticking to them. And then the other is the journal, where every day I write down what I worked on so that I just have a log throughout the whole year of like, here's what I did. And I try to make sure we only keep it to just 2 bullet points. So it's been pretty easy because it's been Skeleseller pretty much the whole time. But if you look back at other days, it was like, oh, mentoring got added in, or we worked on a totally different thing here. Or sometimes before the Skeleseller days, it was, yeah, like a couple of different things. This is public too if you want to see this. But that's the whole concept, so there's not really much more to see. And then if I feel like writing notes, I write some notes here. This isn't too important. Are these all combat related so far? Do any of them have effect on your town? Oh yeah, tons have an effect on your town. We have a bunch of ideas here. So all the perks that already exist in the game, things like, I get the garbage slime here. Things like this, critical eating. Like that'll be a buff that affects the garbage slime. Automatic eating food, that'll affect the garbage slime, increase the hunger, that'll affect it. So all the perks that are already there will still be there probably, and you'll just unlock them randomly. So like get more customers in your town. That's probably gonna be pretty important actually. And then any other things you could maybe even come up with for this. So items are worth more, specific items are worth more. You can critically sell items. I think we're going to need a lot of those kinds of buffs as well. But I think battle buffs should be a pretty big component of this. Killing enemy ignites them all. Like our battle system has the ability to do this stuff. I don't know how deep we want to go with this. I'd rather have more things that affect the town if possible. Attacks have a chance to crit, heal, increase attack speed, heal, increase armor, increase movement speed, gain a shield. Yeah, like all this stuff is, it made sense for Risk of Rain 2. And then there would be some items that could build on these. Like this is gain a shield. Then you'd have other items that say, if you have a shield, do something. So it's like, oh, well now I want to get even more of a shield. So I want to stack this item. Was he inspired by your workflow? Well, thank you. I think some of this was born for different reasons. The tenets were just to make sure, basically what I noticed in my life is if I ever steer myself towards something, I will eventually achieve that thing. And reminding yourself of what you've steered yourself toward is important for that reason. The journal was mostly out of having to do performance review stuff at Google. I was like, I don't know what I worked on in the last year. So I was like, well, why not write it down? And then I realized even if I'm not doing performance reviews, it's still a good thing to know, like, how long did I spend on this, or what did I do on any given day, or how did those days go? So yeah, I now have a log of all of that. 0.5% chance to find a legendary item that sells for a large amount. Yeah, I think some rare item thing would probably be helpful. Do I have that written down here? I don't. I have general idea. Yeah, specific loot upgrades, location loot upgrades. So yeah, I guess I'll write loot. Add a chance to get rare items. This should probably be based on the level of the battle, so that you don't just keep repeating low level locations for rare loot, which would just provide extra value. Yeah. Oh, you know, we could write for treasure room. Could say something like guild supplies can rarely spawn from a battle. In fact, this might, no, I shouldn't do this for the base game, but we should probably do that for the challenge mode. Okay, let's keep looking through this to see if there's anything else that's interesting here. Gain gold on taking damage. We could have it so that battles grant gold. I don't really like that idea, though. I'll write it down because we can always just decide later. Gain currency just by battling. E.g. gain sludge by battling. This could even be per sludge or gold just by battling. The sludge could even be per adventurer. And lower the cost of level up. And if the cost is 0, we automatically level them up for you. Okay. What else? What else? What else? What else? Hidden cache containing an item appears. Increase attack speed. Chance to put a bomb on an enemy. Chance to stun. Temporary barrier. Chance to block all incoming damage. This is like a dodge chance for us because of how dodge is formulated. I can just write dodge here. I want to be careful about how much of that we do, but I think having broken battles is fun. Chance to bleed on level up. Drop a banner that strengthens all allies. I wonder what we do for this. There could be some like loot frenzy thing where for some period after winning a boss battle, you get extra item value from sales. Grounded enemies. We could do something like every X battles, something happens. I think that's risky. Slow enemies on hit. We could power up clicking things. Like, we have this idea for the farm already. You can get crops. And then if you want to make it so you can harvest 5 at a time, you can get this upgrade. So now I harvest 5 at once. We could make that a generic thing where every time you click something, it does a better version of that thing. But I don't know what that would be for something like a potion. You know, you drag this to a shop, you're just dragging a potion to a shop. I guess you could also upgrade the potion in the process of dragging it. That'd be interesting. I don't know if it's worth doing. We'd basically be saying every time you manually place an item somewhere, we upgrade it for you. So this small potion becomes a medium potion and it's worth an extra like 3 gold. I don't think I like that. I feel like then you're kind of fighting your workers. So harvesting more crops is good. I gotta think of what else you could do. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about that. A lot of these are just straight up combat related things. and then some of them just don't translate. I wonder if there's a game that's sort of similar. I don't want to take ideas from a similar game though. I'm looking at this because it's not similar and because it's just what inspiration can we take from this? We might have enough already. It's hard to say. This is super cool, by the way. This is the 57 leaf clover. In Risk of Rain 2, it was anything that rolled a random chance now could roll that random chance twice. So imagine, for example, you have a 10% chance to crit, and now it fails. It'll say, no, you have another 10% chance to crit. So the roll happens twice, which increases your odds of every positive thing happening by a lot. And that's just a really cool idea for a game. Yeah. Anything else that's interesting here? It'd be kind of interesting to have straight up ability upgrades. Like you could have Fireball and it gets replaced by something like Mega Fireball, which shoots at everybody in the battle. I don't know how much I want to do that stuff. Could upgrade specific skills to an ultimate version. E.g. the mage goes from Fireball to Fire Barrage and hits everything with their Fireball. Could even just do this in the... You can just do this by adding extra levels. Maybe we do that in the mode just by default. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that until just now. That's kind of interesting. So we have all these abilities, and they have max levels that are no higher than 3. Most of them don't even have anything that goes to 3. So here it's just a max level of 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2. But like we could allow this to go up to 3 or 4 where it makes sense. So here, for example, it doesn't really make sense to go up to 4 because the chance would be 120% or whatever. But here, going up to 3, it'd be fine. You could say that it's a 100% chance to split shot. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I like that idea. And it works very easily because any of these things that we had, we already had a way of increasing the number. The only thing is anything that's a chance obviously can't go beyond 100, but beyond that, it's like take the rogue, fatal strikes. We have this go up to 20% or something, or crit go up to 50%. It's kind of interesting. So actually, I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to say as a general idea, we can increase the max levels of any skills that scale obviously. E.g. the rogue has crit, which is 0%, 12.5%, 25%. We could add 2 more levels to allow it to go to 50%. So yeah, this is neat. And you might never get a build that lets you do this or utilize this, but if you did, it'd be pretty fun to find these broken builds. This would add to the fun of finding broken builds. I guess same thing with skill points. How do you get skill points? You're choosing what you want to level up, but you might occasionally get a skill point for somebody. All right, I like that a lot. What even spawned that idea for me? How did I come up with that? Ultimate abilities is what I was talking about. What made me think of ultimate abilities? Was it something in here? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else? No. I don't think so. Okay. Then what's this stuff? More battle stuff, I guess, that we have. Oh, I guess it was like powering up individual adventurers. That idea of summoning things. Like we could have summon 2 zombies at once, or start with an extra zombie. I guess I'll write it down as a generic idea. This is just something we should do. It's not something we should even write as an idea for a perk. It should just be a part of this mode. Yeah, I'm going to write that down in the design. Adventurers. Adventurer skills. We can increase the max levels of skills. This would add to the fun of finding broken builds. Yeah, sounds good. All right, so general ideas. I think we could augment specific abilities, e.g., like witch doctor summons 2 zombies at once. Mage's fireball hits every enemy. These are just different skills. Hey, Wanakis. Happy Thursday. Or even expose these to the player for them to add. What other just simple examples do we have here? Cleric heals everyone at once. That's probably bonkers. In fact, that is bonkers. What's one more? Rogue. Gets a power boost on using execute. Something like that. I don't know. Or quick strike targets 2 enemies. Targets 2 different enemies with quick strike. Yeah, there's a lot we can do in terms of battle. So, all right, I wanted to do one more thing here, which is I wanted to look at another game that is also not similar. So, Enter the Gungeon. I haven't played that game in forever. Items. I don't even know if this is I don't even remember how that game works. Remember, you got guns and you shot the guns at other guns. So what is this stuff? List of items. And how many are there here? Like 1 billion? Yeah, 1 billion. Okay, so I want to look at these and just see, is there anything here that we can potentially like get inspired by? So single use heals a player for 1 heart, grants double damage. So consumable items. I don't have that concept in the game. Consumable items. I think for this to be interesting, we would need you to be able to input something during a battle. And I don't think that's where I want to go with the game. And I don't know why else you would consume an item. That's pretty much what spells are for. Yeah, spells are our equivalent of consumable items. So all the single use stuff, let's just ignore. Holds hearts or ammo for use later. Throws a bomb that explodes. Stuns enemies. So yeah, a lot of battle stuff, of course. I don't think we're going to learn anything from this. No, I don't think so. You have like temporary customers in town. Let's just scroll like halfway down the page. Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to help. Mimosa. Single use for the next X number of dungeons have increased drops. That's basically a spell, though. That's what I was saying. Like, we already have that here. Triggerable consumables, like drink potion at 25% health. Yeah, I don't think I want to do that. I just don't think it makes sense for the game. Like, even for a triggerable consumable, is it like your adventurers that would have died get healed? Would you even want that? You could just let the battle end or flee. So yeah, just a thought for that stuff. Okay, let's go back down to the questions. So what are more perks we can come up with? We need a lot of them in this category, so they're interesting choices. So we came up with a lot of battle ones. Let's try to come up with some that are not battle related. And keep in mind that none of the buildings are guaranteed to you anymore. So I'm going to get all of the buildings. The tavern has quests. Quests are still going to be how you get more workers. Workers are probably going to matter more. In fact, maybe we don't let adventurers act as workers. Or that's like a mega upgrade that you can get. All right, so they just completed that quest, so we got another skeleton. Now they can't complete this quest unless I change things up. Should all walk away from there. Yeah. All right, anyway, farm. Let's take a look at this. So what we had here was crop variety, clearing out rocks. You know, it could change how the rocks work, such that there's a rock on every plot of land, and you clear like 1 rock to get another seed that you can plant. And then we say at any given time, you clear like 4 at a time or 5 at a time. Actually, that's another thing I hadn't thought of. What happens if you do unlock the farm, but You never get any upgrades that let you clear rocks. So you're always just planting exactly 4 seeds. It's something like this. I guess at some point we need to let you upgrade that. If we didn't bucketize perks, then maybe you would unlock a building and then never see the upgrade you want for that building. You get the farm, but you're stuck at 4 plots for the rest of the game. That wouldn't be good. Anyway, still looking at the farm. So that's a thing we'll have to answer. We have all of these already figured out. I wonder if there's some other thing we can do. So we're already affecting crops growing faster. We have a crit when it's eaten by the slime over here. We have a way for you to get more spaces, for you to get more valuable crops. What else could we do? We could give you a whole other farm. I don't think I like that, though. I think I'd rather you just have the one, and it can go beyond the max size they could go in the original game. Trying to think of what else you might even want to modify here. If we did just keep those modifications, we have 4 upgrades here, 3 here, so that's 7, 2 here, so that's 9, and 1 here, so that's 10. So we have like 10 farming perks so far. Did I write any others down? Can be larger than normal, can grow weapons and armors. Yeah, I don't know about these. And then there were some cross-system perks. What else can we do with the farm? Could be like every time you harvest a crop, something happens. Didn't I write that down? I think I wrote every time you sell an item, it could do damage in battle. This could be every time you harvest a crop, you do damage in battle. Although breakpoints become important then. Like, let's say your adventurers do whatever, 100 damage per hit, and enemies have 500 life. So in this case, it's like 5 hits to beat an enemy. And then we come in with this perk and we say, perk, you do 1 damage to enemies every time you harvest a crop. The way this is formulated is it's pointless right now because like the breakpoints don't make any sense. You need to sell, or you need to get 100 crops to reduce the battle by 1 hit. Now, granted, you could just balance this number, right? You could say, oh, this is 10 and now it's not so difficult, or 50 even. But yeah, I wonder at what point this thing is balanced and how hard it is to figure that out. Sorry. Excuse me. I was trying to mute. I have a mute button on my mouse, but it's not reliable. I gotta fix that. Okay, so yeah, what else can we do with the farm? We already have crops grow faster. Crops can be critically cooked. This is a fishing perk, technically. I guess that's something that could be changed. It could just be based on having one or the other. Yeah, that's interesting. What else do we have? Crops are more valuable. You have more plots to plant. And you can harvest more crops at a time when manually clicking. So all those are good. What are other variations we can add in? I guess we could make for a critical planting of the crop, like you could get a golden crop or a modification of it. Well, that's kind of just that crops are worth more. Yeah, maybe we have like glowing crops. Glowing crops that are worth more even without being cooked. What else? I think the larger farm thing is interesting. Although it's really just saying that instead of clearing out to a 5x5 area, you could eventually clear to 6x6 or 7x7. And I do think that would be nice to do. It'd feel like an ultimate upgrade. But are there any other ideas? I guess they're just things where... let me start a battle over here. So that we're getting some some potions. There. Okay. What else? What else? What else? It could be something. Could be something when that happens whenever you harvest a crop. Could be something that happens whenever you plant a crop. Could be that the farm generates some other resource occasionally. The farm is mostly for getting sludge, though, so it should probably just still generate sludge. I mean, we could say, like, the chef slime can take any kind of item and just converts it into sludge. And it could take potions, too. You wouldn't even need crops, I guess. I guess the point would be that if you did bring potions to it, it would give you less than if you planted them on the farm. It's probably not a good idea. What else can we do? The auto harvesting thing, I think, is probably good. Auto harvesting would be nice. I guess we need to think, is there any other stat I haven't affected here? Maybe you don't need potions. You need fewer potions to plant crops, or even no potions. Auto planting might be nice without needing potions. You need fewer potions. Or we tweak the system some other way, right? I don't have the money for this. Because all you care about is that you're going to be leveling up your adventurers. Indeed. Oh, we got one tomato. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of ideas for this. I don't even know how much it matters. Like, this all comes down to how many perks will you probably get on the easiest difficulty. So this is something that in Slay the Spire, you get this concept of relics, and on like level 0, you're probably going to end up with like 15 relics or something. But on later levels, you might have 8 relics. So the number of choices you actually had to make is not so crazy. If you only got 15 of these things, it's like, okay, you saw about 15% of the relics or something. So if we have a total of 10 farming perks, and in any given run, you only see 30 total perks, then even if you got all of these, you're probably just happy you got all of them. So maybe it's fine. Yeah, this is something that I think playtesting is going to reveal. Let me write this down as a question for playtesters then. Are you making too many? Okay, so it's not, are you making too many perk decisions? How do you feel about the number of perk decisions in the game? Is it too many? Are you making choices too frequently? Is it too few? Do you feel you don't have the ability to express a build? Or that, yeah, something like that, I guess. Yeah. Note the context behind this question is that while designing this, I was worried we didn't have enough perks for the farm because we have like 10. It's more than 10 because we also had spicy cooking, which was here and went up to level 3. any levels worth of stuff. But if you're only ever offered 50 perk choices, or like 30, let's say 30 perk choices in a run, you probably it probably doesn't feel restrictive. This kind of makes me wonder, how many items on average do you get in a game like Binding of Isaac by the end of a run? Binding of Isaac, how many items do you get on average per run? They have about 200 items in the base game, but like, how many of those do you get? And can you duplicate them? I don't remember. I don't even know what this answer is for pretty much any of these games that I play, other than Slay of the Spire, maybe. Slay of the Spire, relics, you wouldn't get too many, but you'd also have cards, and you get a lot of cards. Cards are offered much more frequently, though. You'd also get a decent number of potions, which was their form of consumable items. For us, that's going to be spells. All right, you know what? I think we'll just see how this feels in playtesting. So I'll write down these ideas, but I don't know if we need them. Specific ideas. Farm. So we could say something like, could add glowing crops to make them be worth more before being cooked. Could add auto harvesting or auto planting, even without potions. Could add an extractor efficiency. That's not really needed, I think. Yeah, we could. Maybe potions produce fewer crops than in the base game by default. And what else do we have here that's not too bad? Generate some other resource occasionally. Not sure that's interesting though. Maybe the slime spits one of these out every so often. And what else? And it could add something that happens whenever you harvest X crops. E.g., every 25 crops harvested. It could be that that's when it spits out a weapon or an armor, right? Yeah. Okay. I think that's fine. I think we should look at every system and just see how that feels. So with fishing, the way this works in the base game is that the maximum number of fish you would hold would make it so you'd have to battle at the fishing pond less frequently. But in challenge mode, since you're limited on time, you probably don't value this as much. In fact, you might not value sort of any of these. And another idea that I had as I was talking about this is we could allow for any of these things to level up even further than they do. So I'll just write general ideas. Any perk that has multiple levels could potentially just get more of those levels. E.g., spicy cooking could get to a 100% crit rate, but then the crit value could keep rising. Also, to even get to 100% would mean we'd have another 7 levels. I don't think we even need 7 levels. I also don't think that's that fun, but it would be possible. And that is where our stackability comes in for this. Because I was talking about this with Risk of Rain 2. You can get any item multiple times. You can get many of the perks in this game multiple times too. With this one, it's a little harder. We need different graphics for all the different vegetables, but we could just palette swap them at some point. You could start getting like blue carrots or something, like made up vegetables, a glowing pepper. You grow like a cake. That would be funny. It's not a vegetable. It tastes better. All right. Yeah. Atypical. We are doing more design today. I am like, you were all like bees right now, and I am the smoke that has calmed you all. Chat is not moving very quickly at all. Yeah, I recognize these are boring streams. I have to do them. I can't skip game design. This is very important. I can design my future like you designed your game. You can. You started by changing your Twitch name. You're still going to the gym, right? All right, so next up we should look at the fishing pond. I'm concerned the fishing pond is not very interesting given that it was an add-on to the farm. And then now it might exist separate from the farm. So I think we could actually make the fish easier to fight. Do we have any fishing things here? We don't. You are. That's good to hear. Could make the fish have less HP. This is kind of stupid. You'd want a perk that just makes all enemies have less HP. I think auto fishing would be great. Auto fishing would be great. All right, no, max fish is probably less appealing since you're on a timer or on a time limit. Wake up at 4, walk 12 kilometers, come back by 6:30ish, take a shower, start solving DSA, which I can't solve any problems. It's a good routine. Man, I don't think I've ever consistently gotten up at like 4 in the morning. Right now is probably the earliest I've ever consistently gotten up in my life, and it's really just because of our cat. I'm probably waking up at about 7 to 7:30 every day. I am more a night owl by nature. But I always like the idea of waking up earlier. And part of the problem is if you ever have social plans, you kind of just need to do whatever your friends are doing. Otherwise, you're going to be tired all the time because they're staying up late and that's the only time you can hang out with them. So, yeah. All right, I am a little stumped with fishing. I think the main problem here, fishing is harder to come up with. It was meant as an add-on to farming, meaning you would already have had sludge production. You know what, then? I wonder if it's a bad idea to allow you to get the fishing pond as a standalone thing. If it's just a bad idea to let you get the pond as a standalone thing. Maybe you unlock it alongside the farm. Maybe it's essentially an upgrade to the farm. So what makes this challenging again? What changes difficulty-wise? So the main things about where the challenge comes in. One, you're on a time limit. If you don't complete the objective in that time, you lose. So that on its own is already a challenge. You did not have a time limit in the base game. Two is that as you complete runs, you go up in difficulty overall. And so it might be like level 1 is just no extra modifiers. Then level 2 might be something like enemies have 10% more life. Level 3 may be something like you get 1G less for each sail. Level 4, so on and so forth. And all of these stack. So when you're on level 4, you'd have enemies have 10% more life and you get 1 less gold and you have whatever it is the level 4 thing is. So basically, it's not really intended to be hard on level 1. It's just like a, hey, learn what this mode is, have fun playing a game. Then we make it the tiniest bit harder. Did I write this down as a playtest question, which is how much would you want to replay this? How much you enjoy this? How much you want to keep playing? That's the whole point of this feature. However, I also don't see this having the lasting power of something like Slay the Spire. It was more to add like 5 to 15 hours of gameplay. It'd be nice if it felt like there was more space for that. Yeah, I think the fishing pond does pose a problem here. Because what happens if you unlock the fishing pond first? One, there are just fewer perks, so it feels like there's less of a reason for you to upgrade it. It would just kind of be good by default. Two, though, you're dumping a bunch of potions in to hope to get fish out of this. I guess the max fish thing is kind of interesting, and it is another system. This, I don't know. I'm so torn. I think so much of this we need to play test. I'll just write this down. Nope, whoops, this is a playtester question, not a regular question. How does the fishing pond feel? Context. At design time, I was thinking that the perks aren't as enticing and it's semi-redundant with the farm since they both accomplish the same goal, but in different ways. They're synergistic though, and I think there's room for both of them. Yeah. Okay, I don't think we look at too much else here, except for maybe the tavern. The tavern doesn't have the concept of perks right now. And the warehouse kind of does, and then you can keep adding on new spaces. The treasure room definitely does. The enchanter definitely does. The tavern doesn't. But the tavern is a way you'd get more workers. Huh. Does the tavern need perks then? And what would they even be? Maybe if you don't unlock the tavern, you can't get the worker perks, like increasing their speed. Should the tavern have perks? As it stands now, it doesn't. So unlocking it is just needed to be able to get more adventure or no more workers. Maybe it unlocks perks like workers move faster, adventurers can act as workers. Anything else? I mean, that's kind of it, right? Maybe it could also be how you get more customers. What else would we do? Because it already has like a built-in cost here for this. Maybe we just play tested. I want to stop that notification from showing up. So I should think out loud here. Part of the reason this is a problem is we are changing how you get buildings. So you currently, you click a sign and build that building. The proposed system is you click build and it offers you a random choice of 2 buildings and you pick one of those. So there's no guarantee you get the thing that you want. You might click build and be offered the tavern and the farm and you're like, oh man, I wanted the treasure room. So if you do get the tavern, then you now don't unlock a bunch of new perks because there are no perks for it. So you allow yourself to get more workers and adventurers or whatever, something like that. But maybe it wasn't, maybe it's not an interesting decision. It almost makes me wonder if you should even have to build any buildings. But is it even a problem? Is it a problem if you get the tavern and aren't offered a bunch of other buildings? What would cause you to choose the tavern in the first place? If we're making automation more important, then you're going to want this eventually. If it's not as important, then you may avoid it completely. This is where this is so strange because I can't, there's probably a game that exists like this, but I can't think of a game I've played that's like this, where your automation is helping you accomplish a goal that you have a time limit for. So by getting the tavern, you're only kind of increasing the automation part of that. So if you had so many items on the ground that you just literally can't keep up, like like this many potions are spewing out of the portal, and you're like, I can't click that many that fast, then yeah, getting more workers would help you because you'd get a bunch of workers and then they'd go pick a lot of those things up. But if you're not getting that many items, then you don't have a need for this, I suppose. Like, should you just always have the opportunity to get a worker? I kind of think we should start you with a tavern. Man. Yeah, I kind of think we should start you with a tavern. And the only problem with that is that we only have so many buildings in the game, so there's less for you to choose to build. So originally, I think we have 7. Where is it? I wrote the number 7 yesterday. Where was it? Here. No, not that. Oh, whatever. Let's just search for treasure room. I'll find it through this. There it is. So you could build the warehouse, the garbage line, the farm, the pond, the enchanter, treasure room or key storage, and the tavern. So we cut out the tavern now. We've cut out 14% of the options that you have. So you will only have the other 6 choices. But if it wasn't an interesting choice, then presenting the choice is not important. I think that's what this all comes down to. If the choice won't be interesting, then there's no reason to present it to the player. So yeah, that's the question. Like, why wouldn't you get the tavern? And it would, the only answer would be you're happy manually moving everything. And we would design the game such that you can't be happy manually moving everything. So then there's no reason for you to not get the tavern. Yeah, I think we should start you with it. Because the other thing to consider is the tavern only ever gives you one choice anyway, which is do you start this quest or not? So if you didn't have the tavern, you couldn't make this choice. But if you do have the tavern, you can still just not do anything with it. And that would especially be silly because it's like you unlock this, so you must have chosen this. So now you're on the quest and you're gonna go complete this. Yeah, I think we start you with the tavern. Yeah. Rationale for the tavern: for a lot of the upgrades / decisions to matter in this mode, we need to push automation on you, which means you should have the ability to get new workers at any time. And it's up to you to consider the trade-offs. Plus, the tavern doesn't provide any new perk options. Although we could force it to by putting worker speed, hard-working adventurers, etc. Well, just those 2, really. Shouldn't say etc. when I don't know what the other ones would be. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, great. I think we answered enough of this question where we have enough for playtesting at least. What are more of the perks? Look through my list of ideas. We did that. I need a lot of them in this category. So we have a lot of battle perks now. Should perks level up? You're offered a 10% income. You can eventually somehow get a 20% income. Might be a roguelite aspect. I don't think so. I don't think so. Many perks already have inherent levels to them. In fact, that's probably that standard, right? This is a 1 level thing, a 1 level thing. This has 5, 3, 4, 5, 1 level. This won't exist, 2. So out of all of these, 5 of them have multiple levels and 3 don't. And we're going to start you with this one anyway. So it's more like 5 have it and 2 don't. So yeah, majority there. All of these, so that's another 4. So 9 have it and 2 don't. This probably doesn't matter and shouldn't be exposed, but this one. So now it's 12 versus 3. This is 17 versus 4. And this is 19 versus 7. So the majority of the ones in the game, 75% of them have multiple levels. I counted, and it's about 75% right now that have multiple levels. We can add more levels to those if we want. That adds for a natural progression. We should expose these as different levels of this thing. I think that would be nice. Where do we have that written down? Perks in general. There can be redundancy with perks. Innate perks. You should be given auto battle by default. Gifted perks. And then leveling up existing perks. We should show in the UI when a perk is something you already have and you'll just get the next level of it. E.g., what is this called? Swift Shoes level 1 versus Swift Shoes level 2. We can actually even just show you this. Yeah, we can just show you the whole perk. We're gonna probably need more icons for this stuff too, man. Nuts. Okay, well, I think we answered that. Let's move on now. So that's done. Should we have buckets of perks? So if there are 90 battle perks, maybe having to choose battle perk is what should be exposed to the player, and then you should get a choice of, say, 3 of them. Yeah, I mean, how would it feel if, let's say we literally did have, if we had 100 perks and 70 are battle perks, consolidating those 70 and then showing battle perk with a particular weight could be better than listing individual battle perks. A playtest question I have is, how many perks are you getting? How many perk decisions are you getting in the average run? And a difficulty idea is perks cost more. Perks, hiring adventurers, unlocking locations. What's the other thing you can spend money on? Oh yeah, building of any or all of these. All right, so back to this. So I think it makes sense to lump these in, but is there some other consideration there? I'm torn because there are different things. Option 1 would be just show any 3 perks. So maybe you have like farm perk, battle perk, battle perk. Option 2 is bucketize the battle perks. So you see something like farm perk, town perk, battle perk, and then this expands into, if you choose this, you get 3 new options that are all battle specific. So like plus health, plus power, plus whatever. Plus haste, something like that. What else could we do here? I guess like option 3, show battle perks occasionally, or like change the appearance rate of perks such that you get a decent mix of them. I'm leaning toward 2, but I'm not sure why. I guess we could just change this when we realize there's a problem. I should probably count how many of each of these we have. Because we have what, like 19 perks I said in the game right now, and they'd all have level ups. Then we have a bunch of battle perks. Maybe those have some level ups too. Yeah, I think let's just start by showing you all of them together, and then we can figure out how this is going to look later. Perks in general. So when showing perk choices, we can just randomly pick 3 that you're eligible for. Rationale, I had thought about bucketizing battle perk, I guess like battle perks, in case they're too numerous. So that you don't see them appearing much more than the other perks. However, I don't think we can decide that on paper. Playtesting will suss this out. Yeah, so I think that becomes a playtesting question. How do you feel about how battle perks show up? Should we bucketize them into a single choice battle perk that then causes 3 battle specific perks to be choosable? Yeah. All right. What other questions do we have here? Because there was a lot to this. So we didn't bucketize them. Then maybe you'd unlock a building and then never see the upgrade you want for that building. I should write that down too. Do you ever run into a situation where you unlock a building and then never see the perks for that building? I think that's where re-rolling would be nice. This is not needed. Yeah. Okay, what next? For battle perks, how do you choose which adventure to apply them to? All right, I should write the thing about locations. Do we have them here? Locations, yeah. Those should be randomized, and each location should be roughly 1 level higher than the one prior. Rationale, you should have a lot of choices for where to fight, since battle progression is a key part of making these runs fun. Sometimes you may make it all the way to the end. Other times you may win just by getting to the 5th or 6th location. Bosses should be randomized too. Their abilities probably shouldn't be, but we need to make sure you can complete all of them. Okay. So for battle perks, how do you choose which adventurer to apply them to? Are you choosing battle perk for rogue first and then plus health versus lifesteal or something else? Are you choosing plus health and you get to assign it to an adventurer? I kind of like... Actually, I don't know what I like. Because also this would imply that you could never... No, it wouldn't imply what I was about to say. Yeah, what do I like better there? So if we're just showing you random perks, then we can't split it to battle perk for rogue. You'd have upwards of 10 adventurers. So if you had plus health as your only perk, you'd now have 10 plus health perks. And I think having you choose is probably more interesting, but you could just stack all of your buffs onto one character, which is an option. But what if that just makes every battle super easy because you got one ultra powered character? I don't know. Yeah, but any battle perks need to show in the UI. I gotta write that down as a dev task. Need to show any battle specific perks in the UI for adventurers. Maybe each one can only have so many of them. Yeah, maybe there's a limit. Maybe there's a limit per adventurer, and then we just stop showing them as an option. Or maybe we weight it based on how many each adventurer has. So like you pick plus health, and then we choose which adventurers to show you the target of this buff. So like rogue, 2 buffs already. Warrior, 1 buff. And mage, 0 buffs. So we didn't show the cleric since they had 6 buffs, let's say. I don't know. From a player perspective, you're not going to know how this is working. So you're probably not going to care too much. Because it's not like you get to influence it. But from a simplicity's sake, like what's the easiest thing for the player to understand here? And how many adventures will you have on average? Like how much do you tip the scales by only unlocking like 1 or 2 adventurers? So let's say I have 3 adventurers. If there's a choice of I got plus health, it's only going to ever offer me the 3 adventurers that I have. So we kind of need to steer you toward having more party members sometimes, which means there should probably be runs where you're getting a lot of wisdom sludge, I guess. But even then, you could dump all the stats into one character. And right now, the way that stat progression works is that it's much smarter to do that. Like the power of this character is 10. I get to level 2, it goes up to 11. I get to level 4, it goes up to 19. So it's like, oh man, that's a huge, huge difference. It's only +1 for the first level, and it's +4 on average for the next 2 levels. I think, okay, so here's what I think. I think the problem with showing you something like plus health for the rogue is that it's too granular a choice compared to other perks. For you to have more impact with battle perks, you should probably choose their target. I don't know if stacking them all on one character is good. The time thing, having 1 super strong adventurer means only 1 battle with a high win percent. Yeah, but that might be all it takes. Could slow it down unless it insta-kills everything. Yeah, like one of the things that's already possible in the game right now, let's say we level up the rogue, we don't even put any real skill points in, or we just put skill points in this. So we level up the rogue a lot. They're level 8. We send them to the forest. Watch how long a battle here takes. Duration 1.2 seconds. So like you can just keep clicking this and just spewing potions out of this fight. This is legitimate. Like I'm not cheating right now to do this. You can see potions flooding the map here. So this could potentially be a problem, but then you also need the throughput to be able to handle all of these items. So I don't know. That's what this all comes down to. I don't know. Maybe this is stupidly powerful. Maybe we need to nerf this or buff other strategies. So yeah, how do we affect the granularity of this? I think I like this idea of it just says battle perk for rogue. Yeah, I like that idea. Okay, I think we're going to do that. So perks, battle perks. Battle perks are surfaced with a particular adventurer in mind, e.g. battle perk for rogue. It then says something like allows you to choose an upgrade specifically for your rogue, which already has X upgrades. Upon picking that, maybe you would see plus health, plus power, and plus lifesteal. And then also we can skew the odds of picking any adventurer if stacking power onto a single adventurer is too impactful. E.g., we stop showing battle perk for rogue if your rogue has 5 buffs already. Alternatively, battle perks could be unlocked in a different way. That's actually a thing I hadn't even thought of. Yeah. So option 4 could just be you unlock battle perks totally separately. Or even we go a completely different route entirely. And this could even change how you level up. Maybe you spend sludge on battle perks. And from there, you get the option to level up, grant a skill point, get stats, get buffs in battle, etc. Okay, that might be more interesting. And then as you put buffs onto these characters, the cost naturally increases. Okay, I think I like that a lot. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think that's the moment of inspiration from today. Does this break anything? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. And this lets us change our scaling too. All right, I got to write this down. So battle perks. What is this stuff? Do we have any level ups and adventure thing here? Leveling. Leveling works just like it does in the base game. You choose which adventure to level up using sludge. Rationale, keep it simple, stupid. Okay, not anymore. So battle perks. See. I'll just say see this. Copy. See adventurers leveling. All right. Now I put this down here. So instead of leveling up, or instead of explicitly leveling up, you are buying a battle perk for that adventurer, for that specific adventurer. For example, you may click the buy battle perk button and be offered plus skill point, plus power, plus something else. I don't know, lifesteal. Alternatively, maybe every so many, maybe every X perks that you get for an adventurer will give you a skill point automatically. Okay, so there's a lot of rationale for this. One is that the stat scaling of the base game strongly steers you toward leveling up a single adventurer. This would let us change that scaling. 2 is that it keeps all of the battle perk information in the UI where you would already expect it. The next is that we don't need to pollute the perk pool with battle perks. And this does make sludge very important. And this greatly changes how you power up your adventurers, such that there are more decisions to be made. Yep, cool. Okay, so battle perks are not a thing now. Or, well, they are a thing, but they're not a thing from the main perk selection. So where did I write that down? So battle perks. And I guess I should write down the rationale. I already did write the rationale for that. It doesn't pollute the original pool. Okay, but now this becomes maybe a little bit different of a problem, which is that we need there to be enough perks for you to always have interesting options. I guess if you don't have many buildings, there aren't that many things to choose from there. Well, whatever. We'll figure out how this works. The whole game is based around you wanting to buy everything and not being able to. But the base game is around, well, you just wait and you can do it. Challenge mode is around, you've got to prioritize what's best for you. All right, so where do we leave off with this? Yeah, so this is a major star. Battle perks, how do you choose which one to apply it to? If they're a big deal, do we open more locations? So we've answered all of that stuff. Do the perks seem to allow for creativity? Is the decision at any point obvious? This we need to ask playtesters. Yeah, this. There should be excitement if we're adding a level of randomness. Do all of the decisions, or I guess like how many decisions you're making that you make feel obvious? If we offered a choice of +1 power versus +3 power, it's almost like we're not even offering a choice. Does the game ever feel like that? Yeah, I think that's a good gauge to figure out if this worked. All right, how many cards or relics do these games have? So I think what we've learned is the more the better, but there needs to be enough uniqueness with them. So as mentioned, you wouldn't have a +1 power upgrade ever alongside a +3 power upgrade because your character, you're always going to pick the +3 power. This is in all other things being equal, which a game could have all other things be equal. A lot of times it's going to be like +1 power and +5% attack speed versus +3 power. And now there's a decision to be made because you have some calculation to do or some other consideration like, well, with more attacks, I'm now triggering my lightning procs more frequently. But yeah, if it were just the same unit, you'd pick more of the beneficial thing and less of the negative thing. Yeah, anyway, what this boils down to for this game, because we don't have this choice exactly, but we do have something like you could get +1 worker, or you could get, I don't know, +20% worker speed. And now this decision is pretty interesting because if you have like 50 workers already, then the worker speed is better. But if you have 1 worker, then the additional worker is better. So it's probably just based on number of workers you have. However, maybe there's some other change here where, I don't know, you don't have that many items. So you only have 1 worker, but you're also getting 1 item at a time. So now it doesn't matter if you had another worker. You're only getting 1 item. So like make them move faster. So those are the kinds of trade-offs that I think are interesting. Those have to be inherent to a roguelike game or else the game's not fun to play. And the other thing too is I like when games seemingly have an obvious distinction between 2 things. So here is a pretty good example, the worker versus worker speed. But then there's some other consideration that throws this on its head and that might not be apparent to you, but that the game's not hiding. So as an example here, that's already in the game. The mage has this ability, mental swiftness, which is every time you use an ability, there's a chance that you get all of your other abilities faster. So Ice Blast, if I just zoom in on this, Ice Blast says grants the Ice Blast ability, which does 12 damage. If that's all that this tooltip said, you'd have to remember that mental swiftness existed. So I put the note right in the tooltip like, hey, this can trigger that ability we talked about. So if we just said deal 12 damage every 5 seconds, you'd be like, that's kind of bad. Why would I do this? But once you pair it with mental swiftness, it's like, oh, wait, this is making my other abilities better. And those other abilities may proc other things due to these skills that they have. So I like those interactions. And I think in general, whenever a game can simplify a description for something and then just put many of these simple descriptions together, that it makes for interesting gameplay. And I think a good example of this is Hearthstone. Like they limit all cards to 4 lines of text. And they're pretty short lines of text. It's not like giant paragraphs. Whereas I think something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Did card text. They just have a lot of card text on some of these cards. I don't know if these are real cards. I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh! But if you look at this card and you've never played this game before, like you have to read a book to find out what this does. Is there any like better picture of this stuff? Yeah, something like this even. Look at this. You can ritual summon this card or the recipe card. If this card is special summoned, you can negate the effects of all face-up cards. It's like, if you're new to the game, this is rough. Because I don't know what ritual summon is. I don't know what a recipe card is. I don't know what special summoned is. Let's see, all this other stuff. Yeah, maybe some of this other stuff isn't too bad, but it's like tribute it, attack position, some of these other things. And again, I don't know if this card is real. This is just to demonstrate that like there's a limit to how much complexity you can expose to the player and not have them just turn their brain off and be like, I'm not going to make this decision. And the worst thing that could happen is they just say, well, I'm not going to play the game at all. Them skipping one decision is not the end of the world. Them turning your game off and being like, nope, not continuing. And I've done that for a lot of games. I've been like, whoa, there's too much complexity in the first 5 minutes. I am uninstalling. But I have no patience for games anymore. So that's me. All right. Are any perks incompatible? This is something we got to ask, I guess, in the playtest maybe. I.e., should we change conditions for something showing up? An example I could think of would be... I don't know. It doesn't matter. Yeah, let's just leave it at that. All right. Are all perks at least somewhat interesting? They should be felt in their impact to the game without necessarily breaking things. I'll just leave this up here too. Should we still have a sandbox mode? I'm not going to answer that now. Can any ideas be simplified? Is the mode straightforward? Let's put this here. Yeah, is this fun? Does it sound fun? Is this the kind of thing I could see a YouTuber sinking 15 hours into? We'll ask that later. In fact, maybe we'll put that right here in this. It would be nice if content creators felt they could play this game for weeks. I don't think we're really hoping that happens, though. Does this change any other assumptions we had? Like the balance for the main mode probably doesn't matter as much. All right. Well, I think we've answered all the questions. Oh, man. So we got 17 pages of final design for this that we're going to have to turn into a bunch of code. I don't think it's break time. I think we're gonna finish this stuff up. See, I want to sit on this for a bit longer. Or well, maybe it is break time, but maybe that just means it's time to end the stream. I don't know. Let me write this down for now. Finish the foundational design for challenge mode. Add one last burst of inspiration with how we'll expose battle perks via sludge. That's the only usage of sludge here. Think we can fool him with another assembly question? No, I'm on red alert for this stuff. Red alert. Hey, Darkstorm. Also, we never actually... So the figuring out how to reuse areas we did. We need to actually get the reuse of areas to work. And then finish treasure is this. Oh, all right. So we're putting a lot of stock into this. I want to get to the point where we can playtest this. I wonder what the fastest possible way to get to this point would be. Like, if we have a new game mode, that's easy enough to set up, right? I don't know where we put the button, although I gotta think of that too, I guess. So UI, there needs to be a way to enter challenge mode in the first place. Maybe clicking new game on the title screen presents an option, and maybe there's a dedicated button for challenge mode. Need to think of how loading will work too. Yeah, I think we should just do code design on Friday. So, well, tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, code design for challenge mode. What am I doing? Music. I don't think we're going to work on music. Anyway, so, okay, you click new game. We would start you with some buildings. Like I said, every shop, we start you with a tavern. We don't start you with any of this other stuff. That's fine. And then the game would just be what you're seeing here. You'd have an adventurer, I guess a random adventurer too, and you'd have a location, and you'd be able to go fight there. In fact, since that's the first action you would take, and there's no other choice, maybe we just start an auto battle for you at that location. I don't know how I feel about that. I think that's something that could go either way. We either make the player do it or we do it for you. Oh, it's pretty minor either way too. What else was I thinking about though? Oh yeah, so then we gotta hide a bunch of signs because you're not gonna use signs to do these things anymore. Yeah. Did I write that down? Is there a way to just search in the current tab? Because this is kind of annoying. Like if I search for, what was I searching for? Sign. If I search for sign, if I press enter enough times, we're going to go into the scratch tab. And like, what if I don't want to do that? That's why you'd have separate documents entirely. Anyway, I don't have the word sign written here. But like we need to hide pretty much every sign. Since you'll get the effects through perks. Loading the game shouldn't show the signs. Then I don't know what the UI of this is going to look like, but maybe I just put like a buy perk button right here and then perks right below it. Or we could put it into this UI somewhere. I don't know. We need to consolidate perks. Yeah. Show perks that you've unlocked. Show which constraints are active, what level you're on, etc. Phone system. So stupid. All right, well, we'll figure this out. Ideally, this goes faster than we think. But I think that's why the code planning for this is pretty important. Also, have there been any new YouTube videos about Skeleseller? I don't think so. No. Yeah, no. That's too bad. Okay, well, I know today was not the most exciting day. Tomorrow, I want to get to some coding. Actually, no, maybe I'll do some code design today. That way I don't need to bore people. Maybe do code design for challenge mode today. It's either that or marketing, probably. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go find someone to raid. Oh, hey, Kit's using his new captchas. Neat. Hey, 5AS. When I'm making games, I get so overwhelmed by decision making. How can you slowly resolve each point? Kind of the way you saw me do it here. What I really like doing is making a question section where I don't know the answers to these things, right? Let's say I'm designing a new card game. I might ask something like, how many cards do we need? And now it's off the top of my head, and I'm like, I'll approach this at some point. And then maybe I say something like, what are the card rarities, or like, what are the design principles we want, or any number of those things. And then just literally just point by point, try to go through them. What you'll find is that at some point you're gonna ask something like, how does the skill system work in the game? And there are like 10 different systems can apply. I think what's best to do is try to think of what properties do you want out of your system. And maybe it's things like simplicity, maybe it's things like depth, maybe it's customizability. It could be anything, whatever you prefer. And then try to at least nail some of those properties and be like, we could potentially change this later. And then figure out, is it best to prototype or actually just like make the thing in or like completely, yeah. Because sometimes you don't know a system is going to work. So just like do it as hackily as possible and try to get something together. And sometimes you're like, yep, this is it. This is what I want. So start working toward the actual final thing and don't write throwaway code. But yeah, it's a lot of incremental work. Yeah, LSRP. Okay, I don't like spending time figuring out how to raid. So let's raid Kit. He is a very good streamer. He's doing scam baiting stuff. Yeah, I hope that tomorrow is a more interesting day for everybody. Thank you for the resub, LSRP. I really appreciate it. There's no release date yet. It's Q4 on Steam. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'm going to get going. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And I will see you tomorrow.